What's up, YouTube? It's your boy AP, and I'm back after a massive 30-hour livestream marathon to bring you the first of many update videos supporting the Pconc Bouncing League Starter. We're kicking things off with a quick FAQ and some tips for Poisonous Concoction, followed by a breakdown of my actual character. We'll be walking through my gear upgrades and the reasoning behind each decision based on the current state of the League economy. And if you stick around till the end, I'll be sharing some spicy new tech involving a unique ring that's just starting to surface. One that could potentially give us up to 40% more damage, totally unplanned, but still very exciting. So let's dive in, and remember, I'll be live all day at twitch.tv/animeprincess, so come hang out. My first tip is to turn off auto-equip in the in-game settings. This prevents mishaps when we pick up identified single-handed weapons, since they will automatically get equipped, thus preventing us from being able to press our skill. The second and big FAQ I've noticed during stream was with regards to life flask management. So during the campaign, you'll typically want to run either 2 or 3 life flasks, and it's important to always keep them updated to the highest level you can possibly equip. Remember, Pconc always pulls its damage from the flask with the most charges, and it spreads this out evenly, since each flask is going to, in turn, have less charges every time you cast the Poisonous Concoction. So realistically, every flask should be the best tier, or else you're going to lose damage on some of your casts. And also, with respect to keeping your life flask full, there are several important nodes on the tree. The first one we grab in the first 12 levels, replenishing remedies. And the next one, field medicine, you also grab fairly early. Some other nodes of note would be the spell suppression via entrench, which will give us back a lot of life flasks whenever we take spell damage. And one that some people are missing is Careful Conservationist, which we grab later in the endgame. This reduces charges used and also increases charge gained. Our Ascendancy's Nature's Adrenaline is one of the most powerful tools that we have, giving us a lot of flask charges back constantly. And if you need a little extra boost, you can press Y on your keyboard to access your in-game pantheons and swap over to Ristlatha for your minor god. This will passively regain us life charges, and with all of these things, you really should be fine with 2 or possibly even 1 life flask in the endgame. I'm currently still using 2 at the moment. Let's take a quick break to talk about today's video sponsor, Boot.dev, an awesome platform I've been using to level up my backend skills. This time I've been exploring their Go track, and I'm actually surprised by how smooth it feels to learn something so powerful. Boot.dev teaches you by making you do the work. You're writing real code, building real projects, and learning exactly how you'd be expected to work in the industry. What makes it different is how they've gamified the whole thing. You earn XP, levels, achievements, and even unlock pages in a spellbook as you progress. It's like a dev-themed RPG. And when you get stuck, there's Boots, an AI wizard. Basically, your quest giver when you hit a wall. He doesn't just give you the answer, he guides you with clever hints until you figure it out yourself. There's also a super active Discord community, so you're never really stuck alone. If you want to try it, all the content is free to read in guest mode, and if you upgrade, there's a 30-day refund guarantee, totally risk-free. So go to boot.dev, give it a shot, and use my code AnimePrincess for 25% off your first payment. Alright, let's go over my character's progression over my 30-hour live stream, which I guess we could call the first 2 days of progress. So we started off running through the campaign to level 60, and if you followed my heist farming strategy on how to get 100 gold on day 1, we did implement that. So right at level 60, we entered heist, we followed the instructions in the video on YouTube, and I was able to very quickly, within an hour or so, get a uncorrupted 6th link, which I was able to craft myself with a single essence of greed. And that cost me 35 chaos at the time. If you were in this stage right now, I would actually recommend not going for a 6th link because the Embalmer gloves are 1 chaos, and this is essentially a 5 link. So starting the league later, just pick up the Embalmer, put in your Pconc bouncing with your 3 supports. Now, I was also lucky enough to get Blink Arrow, Mirror Arrow of Bombarding Clones in the first lab when I was running through day 1. And that's another meta build, so I was able to sell that gem and buy Pconc Bouncing immediately after the first lab. So in that lucky case, you technically can swap to Pconc and Bouncing as early as the end of Act 4, since Pconc and Bouncing scales off of the number of projectiles you have, and at the end of Act 4, you're able to get greater multiple projectile support as well as greater volley support. So that's what ended up happening for me, and I was able to go through the campaign using the endgame skill. As for the shield, you can see I'm currently wearing a Lepers Alms, but I do have the Dawnbreaker in my backpack. Now on day 1, Lepers Alms was a couple divines, and throughout the course of the day, maybe 10 hours in, it was 90 chaos. Maybe like 15 hours in, it was 60 chaos. It's slowly drops and drops in price. Currently at the moment, this shield is like 3 to 4 chaos. This is basically free, and this is a really good damage shield. But up until right before I ended the stream, I was using a Dawnbreaker since this shield was much cheaper. And honestly, going through the campaign going through the end game, you don't need too much damage. This is much better defensively, so it helped avoid deaths and keep my XP progress. Realistically speaking, I'm not even happy with the Leper's Alms shield on my character right now because we lose so much damage mitigation from the Dawnbreaker. However, I am working on trying to 6-link this unique body armor, Doppelganger's Guise. Because, well, either Doppelgangers or Lightning Coil both offer a ton of protection, similar to what this shield gives us. So I would like to have this higher damage shield, but use one of these. And the reason why I'm opting to try and 6-link the Doppelganger instead of the Lightning Coil, which originally I was trying to hit, was because I got a bit more currency. Obviously, this is more expensive, but this doesn't have the downside of minus 60 lightning res. Realistically speaking, minus 60 is easy enough to overcome. However, there is this new ring that was added to the game called Betrayal's Sting, which I'll talk about at the end of this video. And this does come with a penalty of minus 60 to elemental resistances, because minus 20 to all of them. And having minus 120 resistances is a bit tougher of a pill to swallow. And I had the currency for the Doppelganger, so we sort of gave up on trying to link this. And we'll see if on stream I'm able to 6-link the Doppelganger so I can use the Lepers Doppelganger combo. Okay, as for the rest of my gear, I am using the Embalmer even though I do have the 6-link because this still gives us 25% increased poison duration, which is a pretty sizable chunk of DPS upgrade here. And if need be, if I need to fix my resistances, you can easily replace this with a rare pair of gloves that just have resistances. And if you want some extra damage, you can get attack speed on the gloves as well. The belt, it's simply fixing my resistances, adding a bit of strength. In order to equip the Dawnbreaker, which honestly at this point in the league, with the Lepers Alms being almost free, this is a toss-up. You can choose either one, they're both great. The League Start Guide mostly recommended Dawnbreaker as I knew this would be just stupidly expensive early on. So yeah, with the Dawnbreaker, you'll need some strength. With the Lepers Alms, you won't need to get so much strength on your gear. Boots is purely resistance, movement speed, life. This ring, I do like to have an open prefix to craft. Non-channeling skills have minus total mana cost. Now the way Pconc works, we do have the instant leech as well as the mana leech. However, you need to actually hit an enemy. So if you are pretty careful with where you're clicking and you're always clicking on enemies, you will never have a mana issue. However, it is still nice to lower the cost. So if you're sort of brain off, just clicking on nothing, you won't run out of mana so quickly. And you're able to get this craft, I believe, from the map Cold River. That's where it's located, this league. The Amulet, I opted to go for a budget rare option instead of Fury Valve because Fury Valve was a divine. Now I will include a link in the video description on what I used to shop for this. Basically, I just looked for damage over time multiplier. Technically speaking, a really good modifier would be +1 to chaos skill gems. However, this early in the league, that stuff gets a little pricey. So we just opted for the dot multi as well as some life. As for Anoint, this is very important to allocate aggressive Bastion because it costs almost nothing. Let's talk about that. Aggressive Bastion costs a black oil, violet, and a verdant oil, and this gives us 8% chance to block. This is a lot of block chance and increases our survivability dramatically. It gives us 30% increased damage. That is also very valuable, since this skill has very high flat damage. As you can see, it's 1.3 to 1.9, so getting small amounts of flat damage does not really help us too much, but getting increases to this flat damage is going to scale our damage quite well. This also gives us endurance charges on kill, so while we're mapping, we're going to have these endurance charges, which also dramatically boost up our defenses. As for the rest of the gearing, I already talked about how Lepers Alms, and now on day 3 of the league, is a very good option, especially for damage if you feel like you're lacking damage. And the helmet, well, this is just purely a little bit of resistances and life. I do want to note to make sure that you have evasion on your glove, boot, body armor, and helmet. Just to remind you guys, we are taking this evasion mastery that gives us 15% spell suppression, but we need to have evasion on all these pieces of gear. As for the path of building for my character, you will find these in the video description. For day 1, we were looking at roughly 2.7 million. And this was back with the Dawnbreaker as well as just slightly worse gear. My current damage is closer to 5 million. And we can go over how we made this happen. So the first thing is I actually just took off Grace. My defensive auras right now are Arctic Armor, Flesh and Stone, and my offensive auras are Malevolence and Herald of Agony. I felt like I could get away without the evasion, since I actually do still have an okay amount of evasion. We have 11,000. Realistically speaking, it would be nice to get a Mercenary that gives us evasion. My current Mercenary is not really giving me too much. We wither without withering step, so this is not too important. Temp chains is great, but I'm actually using the Merc setup I suggest in the League Starter video with Asenath Touch, which give us temp chains as well as explosions. Now, the one thing to note with Asenath Touch is you can't do Fizz Reflect because these are Fizz explosions, so our Mercenary will kill themselves immediately in those maps. Calm's Binding is a nice defensive boost for our character, and you will want to use Dodre's Damning along with the Asenath Gentle Touch to give your Mercenary 2 curse limit, so that way we are able to use our Despair Curse, and then our Mercenary is able to in turn curse after us and also apply the temp chains from the Asenath Touch. It's a really fun combo, and the explosions from these gloves feel so nice when we're doing really dense farming strategies such as the Abyss strategy I've been doing live on stream. As for the endgame progression, I did end up following the guide I put out right before launch, where we follow this Atlas passive tree to slingshot our progression as fast as possible into the T16 maps in order to get our Void Stones really quickly. You can find that on YouTube as well. My current farming strategy is simply just clicking all the Abyss nodes, since at least yesterday before I ended the stream, these boss uniques were worth quite a bit. So it gives a ton of XP. That's how I was able to hit level 93 so quickly. And we'll have to reevaluate when we go live today whether these boss uniques are still high in demand, and if we want to keep doing this today. I haven't really checked on this yet. Alright, let's wrap up this video with my thoughts on the new unique ring Betrayal Sting, which I have implemented into our build. The important line here is 40% chance to inflict an additional poison on the same target when you inflict poison. Now, my Pconc bouncing has a 100% chance to poison, so this means 100% of the time we have a 40% chance to inflict additional poison, which we would think would be the same amount that you would normally inflict. So this would essentially be a 40% more damage multiplier onto our final number in Path of Building. Currently, this ring does not even work in Path of Building, and you will know that because when we highlight the ring, that modifier is just red. That means this does not work. And in order to simulate how this would function, well, I had a bad roll before, so this says 36, but I actually bought a perfect roll, so we can say 40%. And this is actually my old path of build. Hold on, let's do my day 2, which has even more damage. So we go from, without this, 3.5 million full damage, assuming we hit every single chain, to 4.9. That is a lot of damage. 40% more. And I was talking to Tai after stream, and he's also using this ring for his Pconc build, and he brought up the fact that he did not notice such a dramatic increase in damage when he put it on. And to be fair, I didn't really notice that as well. So that begs the question, is this ring even functioning right now? And I'll be testing this live on stream. We'll be fighting some of the endgame bosses that have multiple phases. We'll do a phase with the ring equipped. We'll do a phase with the ring unequipped and see how it feels. Because realistically, I'm not sure if I am legitimately at the 5 million damage right now. I've played Pconc in the past, never have 5 million damage at this point, but I am normally still doing similar content to what I'm doing right now. It could be simply that maybe the Mercenary is buffing minion life enough and this is compensating for it. I don't know, but we'll try and answer that question live on stream as this video goes up. All right, before I boot up the stream, I do want to leave you guys with a few extra resources to help you on your league start. The first one is this Pconc bouncing playlist, where I will be posting all relevant video updates as well as old material that will help hold your hand for the Pconc bouncing league starter. You can find this on my YouTube channel by simply clicking playlists, and it's going to be one of the most recent ones. I'll also link that in the video description. Now, you can also join Discord, where I have a custom channel specifically for Pconc bouncing, and I do have an in-game channel as well. So if you type in /global8686, this is where generally my Twitch chat and just anyone playing my builds hangs out. So, you know, you can share some mapping progress in there. Just if you get a nice drop, share it in there. If you have any questions, you can ask me in there. I'll probably answer it on voice in Twitch because it's a little troublesome to be typing all the time. But yeah, somebody will hopefully help you out if you have any questions. Yeah. Looking forward to playing, I guess, my day 2, technically day 3, live on Twitch. I will see you guys there. Have a nice day. Peace.